Eye on Culture is sponsored by the Ignatowicz Family Foundation.
Eye on Culture. At the end of the 1850s, something unexpected occurred among the students of KU University, the same institution where 10 years earlier the Cyril and Methodius Brotherhood had been active. A group of Polish and Polonized students, having started to question their loyalty to the noble class, became inspired by the ideal of bettering the plight of enserfed Ukrainian peasants. Their Polish countrymen disparagingly called them peasant lovers, or chlopomany. In response to this derogation, the charismatic leader of the breakaway group of Poles, Włodzimierz Antonowicz, in his article My Confession, posed a moral challenge to the disparagers. He wrote, "Fate dictated that I be born a noble in Ukraine. But the time came that I started to wonder about my situation in life, my position, and the values of the society in which I lived. And I saw that my position could not be morally justified." Antonowicz stated that foreigners like himself must make one of two choices: either learn to love the nation that has given them a place to call home, and to devotedly work with vigor and passion to counter the evil that has befallen that nation at the hands of foreign colonizers, or, if they lack the moral fortitude for such an undertaking, to simply leave Ukraine. Antonowicz chose the first option, and with time became one of the most renowned Ukrainian historians and activists of the 19th century, under the name Volodymyr Antonowicz. Antonowicz and a group of his friends, having joined up with their Ukrainian peers, found their inspiration in the traditions of the Cyril and Methodius Brotherhood, whose members at that time in far-off St. Petersburg had founded the first Ukrainian hromada, or community, a free association of individuals working for the good of their culture and nation. Panteleimon Kulish, Mykola Kostomarov, Vasil Bilozersky, and Taras Shevchenko were older and already time-worn, changed by the persecution they had endured. Yet they were unvanquished in spirit and came together around the nucleus of the publishing house established by Kulish in St. Petersburg and its scholarly journal, The Foundation, Osnova. Their idea of hromada, or community, became the guiding example for their followers, that is, Antonowicz and his friends, people who were no longer idealistic romantics, but rather ardent supporters of positivist philosophy, who believed in the power of education and the ideal of social progress. This new generation of activists formed a network of hromadas in Russian-ruled Ukraine, from Kyiv to Poltava and Kharkiv to Odessa, and later in Austrian-ruled Galicia, in Lviv, Peremysl, and Ternopil. Hromada members were intellectuals of a Ukrainianophile orientation, such as Antonowicz, political thinker Mykhailo Drahomanov, linguist Alexander Potebnya, cultural leaders Mykola Lysenko and Mikhailo Staritsky, and many others. And they represented and propagated the Ukrainian point of view in many spheres of life, thereby spearheading the formation of the Ukrainian modern identity. The concept of hromada had its clearest influence in the formation of political thought. It became the basis for the first modern Ukrainian political program, written by Mykhailo Drahomanov in 1878 in the preface to the first issue of the journal Community, Hromada. And this first political program immediately proved to be a far-reaching and brilliant achievement of Ukrainian intellectual thought. In many ways, this program remains theoretically unsurpassed still today, and many of its ideas have become so fundamental and commonplace in the Ukrainian collective worldview that it is hard to imagine how revolutionary these ideas must have been at the time that Drahomanov proposed them. For example, the treatment of the Ukrainian nation as a single whole, from the Kuban region in the east to Transcarpathia in the west. For Ukrainians today, this is an axiomatic notion, but Drahomanov was the first to conceptualize the Ukrainian nation as this holistic entity, disregarding state boundaries and linguistic and cultural differences. And his work and activity had an influence not only in his native eastern Ukraine, but also in western Ukraine, where it is not an overstatement to say he inspired the Galician national revival. It is impossible here to fully discuss even just the leading elements of Drahomanov's political program. However, among its more important characteristics is a remarkable breadth of political vision. Drahomanov did not share the stereotypical, narrow-minded and myopic view of most politicians in Ukraine with regard to the Ukrainian question. As a scholar of world as well as Ukrainian history, Drahomanov formulated a program that was rooted in Ukrainian national traditions, but was at the same time universal in nature. His program was people-based, espousing the most cutting-edge political ideas of the time, that is, fighting for the principles of human rights, democracy, and social justice. Analyzing the popular assembly or Vicha system in Kievan Rus, and most importantly, the egalitarian paradigm of the Zaporozhian Cossacks, Drahomanov believed that Ukrainian tradition and the Ukrainian national character were in particularly harmonious alignment with modern trends in the democratic movement, and that they could set a positive example for other nations to follow. And not believing in state autocracy, he imagined a future political system for Ukraine within a decentralized state structure. He felt that the state should only be responsible for the protection of its populace, and he proposed a system within which almost all other political, social, and cultural matters would be decided on a local level, by hromadas or communities. This is why he called his system, which was related to the Western understanding of socialism, a community-oriented system, or hromadivstvo. Undoubtedly, certain aspects of his theories, such as his belief in the need for the creation of a classless society of equal citizens, devoid not only of exploiters but also of elites, seem naive and utopian. And actually, during the Ukrainian Revolution of 1917-20, Drahomanov's anti-elitist ideals were adopted by the government of the Ukrainian National Republic, and they ended up weakening the state's effectiveness in a critical time of war. At the same time, most of his ideas remain relevant even today, and have the potential to improve current political systems, especially the one in Ukraine. Drahomanov's call for the maximum mobilization of citizens on a local level still resonates in a very real and critical way, because generally speaking, without local activism, it is impossible to keep a cap on indiscriminate abuses of state power, as we saw during the Euromaidan, for instance. Also relevant, Drahomanov's emphasis on a morally based political system that imparts dignity to citizens and provides them with the opportunity to determine their own fate. And a sound principle for a healthy society, Drahomanov's maxim that a good cause requires noble methods. Drahomanov's political program imagined a unique social ecology, the coexistence of various cultural and social groups within a single decentralized organism. But these principles, in fact, Drahomanov's entire program, has its underpinnings in sources more profound than rational political models, in the values of the Ukrainian traditional worldview, which is best reflected in the history of Ukrainian philosophy. But we will hear more about Ukrainian philosophy another time. On behalf of Dr. Marko Robert Stech, I'm Tania Stech. See you next time on Eye on Culture.
Очима культури спонсороване фундацією родини Ігнатович.
Очима культури.